Welcome to the show. You're watching the Fox Business Network. Let's get right at it with Texas Representative Brian Babin. Congressman, you're co-chair of the Border Security Caucus. What do you make of the President Biden and his team continuing to deny and claim no crisis at the border?
Well, we know that's not true. We know that Biden and his policies, his rhetoric has unleashed a building crisis down there. And no matter what Secretary of DHS, Secretary Mayorkas says, he can't hide the fact that we are getting more and more of a buildup of illegals coming across that border, unaccompanied children, for one thing. In December, we had 1,000. In January, there were 5,800. Now they're expecting by May to have 13,000. This is a crisis that was unleashed on America by this president and his team. He has reversed the declaration of emergency on the border. He has undone the migrant protective protocols, everything he has done. And now they want to deny that it's happening, but we know that it is building, and Americans are at great risk, and so are the migrants with these types of policies.
Yeah, an historic 117,000 undocumented children expected to cross the border this year. That's quadruple prior years. Axios is reporting that. This number is about the size of Berkeley, California. Now, you and House Republicans are requesting a briefing by the Homeland Security Secretary. I mean, HHS rather is hitting their shelter capacity in just about 3 weeks' time. They need about 20,000 beds to handle the flood of children. What do you want to hear from the Homeland Security Secretary?
We want him to convince us of the truth of what he's saying. If there's not a crisis down there, let's hear the truth, because we know that there have been leaked emails that have shown that he has messaged to his team. This is Secretary Mayorkas, his message to his team, that cost is no object. Get ready, build some tents, get some construction going, and get more facilities, because there's going to be a horde of illegals coming across this border. And then he tells us this is not a crisis. He said this is a challenge. And he says that President Trump has left the DHS and the border situation in shambles, when in reality it was more under control under President Trump than I've seen in many years, many administrations, as a matter of fact. So this is a creation. Let me just tell you this: President Biden owns this crisis, and he needs to take ownership of it, and so does Secretary Mayorkas. And we want to get him in front of our House Border Security Caucus and tell us just exactly why this is not a crisis.
Former top border official Tom Homan is joining us later in the show. He is saying that drug cartels and human traffickers make millions of dollars every time border security is weakened. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki getting insistent. She's downplaying this as a crisis, saying it's a challenge, that when we're seeing the children that are crossing unaccompanied, it's double the average last year. As of right now, it's expected to quadruple. Let's watch Jen Psaki here.
Well, I would say I don't think we need to meet your bar of what we need to call it. We had the Secretary of Homeland Security yesterday conveying it's a challenge. But again, we're going to approach this without labeling. We're going to approach this with policy, with humanity.
What's the point of downplaying it and calling it a challenge?
Yeah, mainly because they have demonized President Trump and his team at DHS for years, calling it a cruelty policy, and that he's going to be replacing Trump's policy, these cruel policies, with one of orderliness. And we know that that is absolutely not true. They just continue to mislead the American public. They have taken the Twitter feed, ICE Alert Twitter, which warns the American people who's going to be released as a criminal into sanctuary cities, and they've quit even having that communication. So they don't want anybody to know what is going on down there. There's been some conversations with Mexico, with the Northern Triangle governments, asking them to stop these migrants that are on the way up here. The Biden administration does not want their fingerprints on this at all when they start turning these people back. Okay.
Got it. Yeah, the Biden administration did shut down the ICE Twitter account for public safety alerts. There's a big uproar over that. Congressman Babin, thanks so much for joining us.